My phone got cut off, so I'm going to try this again. We're at the bottom 182, talking about how kids can see nature differently than adults, and having that kind of attitude that kids have is a good way to go about living your life. When we speak of nature in this manner, we have a distinct but most poetical sense in mind. We mean the integrity of impression made by manifold natural objects. It is this which distinguishes the stick of timber of the woodcutter from the tree of the poet. If a lumberjack goes out in the woods, they see all these trees, right? But what they're thinking is money and profit. They can cut the trees down, sell the lumber, and then make some cash, right? But when a poet or a writer or an artist or musician goes into the woods, they see something different, right? They see beauty and inspiration and things. They don't want to take advantage of it and make profit off it. They just want to enjoy it. The charming landscape which I saw this morning is indubitably made up of some 20 or 30 farms. Miller owns this field, Locke that, and Manning owns the woodland beyond, but none of them owns the landscape. There's a property in the eye which no man has but he whose eye can integrate all the parts, that is, the poet. This is the best part of these men's farms, yet to this their warranty deeds give no title. So he's talking about, he sees this big wide stretch of land on the horizon, and one farmer owns this part, and one farmer owns this part, and one farmer owns this part. But what he's talking about, how a poet can see past all that, right? Because when you think about it, all these fancy boundaries we made and all the property we own, if all people were to get wiped out, all that stuff's pretty artificial and pretty made up, right? And all those artificial boundaries would go away. And so a poet can see past all the boundaries to just the space of land that's the horizon. To speak truly, few adult persons can see nature. Most persons do not see the sun. At least they have a very superficial seeing. The sun illuminates only the eye of a man, but shines into the eye and heart of the child. So an adult who is focused on adult-type things can see the sun, right? But the sun doesn't shine into their heart the way it does with a kid, right? And make them feel happy and good. The lover of nature is he whose inward and outward senses are still truly adjusted to each other, who has retained in the spirit of infancy even into the era of manhood. So again, he keeps hitting on this point about how it's good to go out into nature, and that people who can go out and appreciate it maintain that kind of childlike innocence and wonder at things, right? They're easily impressed, they're easily made, they like to go and explore and kind of investigate everything. His intercourse with heaven and earth becomes part of his daily food. Once you start to do this and kind of live your life this way and appreciate the nature, then it becomes very important to you in terms of just your day-to-day life to have that experience. In his presence of nature, a wild delight runs through the man, in spite of his sorrows. So even if someone's going through hard times in their life, if they can go out into nature, they can still be happy. Nature says, "He is my creature and my maugre. All his impertinent griefs he shall be glad with me." Right? Nature doesn't care what's going on in your life, right? Nature's not going to judge you or say anything bad, and nature will help you bring happiness to your life. Not the sun nor the summer alone, but every hour and season yields its tribute of delight, for every hour and change corresponds to and authorizes a different state of mind. From breathless noon to grimmest midnight. Now what this is getting at is lots of people like to go outside when it's nice and warm and sunny out, right? It's a beautiful spring day or a nice fall day or a nice sunny summer day. But it's important to be able to go outside in all seasons, right? Because nature's a really good kind of analogy for different things that humans go through. And you can think about it in all kinds of ways. You know, if you think about a year being like someone's life, right? So in the spring, they're young and they've just been born, just like lots of animals are born in the spring, right? Summer would be your youth and into adulthood, and then fall is, retirement and on, and then winter would be death. Or, to give it a more positive spin on that, you could look at nature and the changing of the seasons like moving through grief. Right? So some years when winter moves very easily into spring, last year it happened very quickly. A couple years ago, it took until May, right? We were getting way below zero in spring, and it seemed like spring should have been here much sooner than it was. Just like sometimes if, someone you care about passes away, you feel like the grief should be done and you should be able to move through that, but sometimes it just takes a lot longer. In some years, like last year and several years ago, it gets into the 60s in March, and it just was a quick, easy process and things like that. So when it's talking about each season and weather setting kind of corresponding to something different feeling humans go through, that's kind of what it's getting at. Nature is a setting that fits equally well a comic or a mourning piece. In good health, the air is a cordial of incredible virtue. Crossing a bare common in snow puddles at twilight under a clouded sky, without having any thoughts on any occurrence of special good fortune, I've enjoyed an almost perfect exhilaration. When you're in good health and things are going well, nature can be very, very exciting and exhilarating.